All right, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whenever you hear this message, I pray that you're poised to receive, to accept, and to respond to words of wisdom. Ashe. Today, I want to share a really profound lesson with you that comes out of our daily devotion. This morning, Ifa shared with us a lesson that has a couple of levels of interpretation. And it tells us of the time when Ori and the Highland were both coming to the earth, and they were told to sacrifice because they were in search of a permanent abode. Ori was told to sacrifice a white calabash, a white pigeon, and a white cloth, and to take that sacrifice to the highest point and to put the sacrifice down there. Meanwhile, Highland was also told to sacrifice so that it could occupy the highest position. Well, the Highland, being the Highland, felt like I'm already at the highest position. I'm the apex. So I don't really see how anybody is going to go above me. I'm not going to make the sacrifice. I've been told that I am going to be in the highest position, and that's enough for me. Highland came to the world first. Highland chose the high place. Highland was, a big mountain or a big hill. Then Ori comes behind. Ori has the sacrifice in hand. Ori sees the highland, remembers what he was told. Ori climbs the mountain, places the calabash, removes the white cloth, and then takes the pigeon, makes prayers, and releases the pigeon. From that time, Ori was recognized as the owner of the highest point. Because not only did Ori reach the apex of the mountaintop, but Ori also released the pigeon with his prayers that flew over the mountaintop. One very reasonable interpretation of this, the official word on this actually, is that, hey, you're about to go someplace and you're going to meet someone of high esteem, but you need to sacrifice because you're going to surpass even what this person has done. Your destiny is to be greater than the one who's already considered the greatest. But a deeper interpretation of this, and I think a more meaningful interpretation of this, is that you yourself are on a journey to achieve your highest imaginable outcomes, to accomplish your earthly mission. Your purpose for being here is to go to the top of your ability. All right. And in order to do that, you're going to have to transcend the limitations of your environment, representative of the mountaintop. And then once you have overcome all of the environment, all the elements in your environment, then you're also going to have to go above. You're going to have to go beyond what you even imagined. Okay? There's more than overcoming this environment if you're willing to make the necessary sacrifice. As a matter of fact, if you make it your purpose to do that sacrifice and follow the instructions of the sacrifice, that's precisely what's going to send you above and beyond, because that's all Ori was doing. Ori was just making the sacrifice. All right. So how is it that people are able to overcome their environment and then transcend even their own imagination? It all depends upon your ability and your willingness to accept the reality of who you are. Your greatest achievement is not going to ever be that you outperformed another person. Your greatest achievement is never going to be that you accumulated more stuff than another person. You got more money, you got more cars, you got more knowledge, you got more recognition. That's never going to fill, the void in your soul. It's never going to fill the void in your soul. Of course, money will do, it is good. Money will take you a certain, length of the journey. All the stuff that money buys will also help you. It will be very beneficial. Knowledge will help you. Shrines will help you. They will have their place. but they're only going to take you so far. They're only going to take you so far. They're not going to make decisions for you. Money is not going to make a decision for you. Even knowledge is not going to make decisions for you. Shrines, medicines, charms, they're not going to make decisions for you. They're not. You are going to have to make your decisions. 1,000 decisions a day, all on you. It's all on you. If you go up or you go down, it's all going to be based on your decision making. It's not going to be based on how much knowledge you have, how much money you have, how many doodads and whatchamacallits you have. It's not. How do you make the best decisions? You make the best decisions by being guided by your true compass, your real, guiding principle, your true North Star, as they would call it. And what is that? In very simple but somewhat abstract terms, this is what I know as your teacher. This is what I know as your Babalawo of so many years. Because I know that y'all have been following me. The majority of you have been paying attention to my teachings for years now. Some of y'all for decades. And this is what I know that I've got to tell you based on teaching you, based on counseling you, based on coaching you, based on advising you, being in conversations with you. This is what I know you're really trying to do. This is the thing that's really guiding all of your decisions. What you want more than anything else is to have a meaningful life. You want to be fulfilled and gratified by being able to put forth your best effort and make the most meaningful contribution to the people who you love the most, the people who you care about most deeply. You want to show up in their lives in a way that is the most meaningful. That is what is going to give you a real sense of purpose and a real sense of gratification. If you can do that to the fullest, you know what? The money is less important. The more you can show up and really know that your presence is meaningful to the people who you really care about the most, the shrines, they're less important. The titles, they're a lot less important. Okay? So your ability to make decisions that are in alignment with your purpose and your mission is the real measure of success. That's the real measure of your ability to scale that mountain. That's the real measure of your ability to release that pigeon that will fly over the mountain. Okay? So, what is it that will prevent you from scaling that mountain? What is it that stands in the way of you releasing that pigeon? It's twofold. There are two major obstacles. There are two major obstacles that stand in the way of your happiness and your fulfillment. Number one is your ability to accept and embrace reality. That's your number one problem. You ain't dealing with reality. You don't want to deal with reality. You do anything to skirt and duck and dodge and you be matrixing. The reality. The reality is so simple. And I know why it's so hard to do. It's difficult for all of us. It starts in your infancy. It begins in infancy. You start to form your persona before you can even talk. And anyone who has a baby knows what I mean by this. I'm going to give you an analogy. Or not even an analogy. This is just the reality. Anybody who has a baby, especially mothers, will know this. You know when the baby is crying because the baby is sleepy. You know when the baby's crying because the baby's hungry. You know when the baby's crying because the baby's diaper needs to be changed. You know when the baby's crying because the baby just want to be picked up. You know the difference in those cries. Why? Because the baby has figured out how to present itself in a way that is socially acceptable and gets its needs met. That's how primal this is. It may be intuitive or it may be instinctual. Okay? But the truth of the matter is, the baby knows how to cry in different ways. That represents the beginning of the persona. The persona is what you project into the world to be perceived in a certain way that's socially acceptable and help you get your needs met. But the moment you start to formulate your persona, you also start to formulate your shadow. Your shadow is all of those aspects of your identity that are not socially acceptable. They do not help you get your needs met. So you repress them. You tuck them away. You deny them. You reject them. They're still a part of you, but you don't want to embrace them. And for good reason. However, your shadow being still a part of you, it's going to present itself. And over time, the more aggressively you deny your shadow and repress your shadow, so will it make itself seen and known in ways that are out of your control. Your shadow will push itself to the forefront. It will reveal itself, right? And the more crafty you are about your persona, the more intense your shadow will be. This is why I like to say bright light casts a dark shadow. So people who are really bright and charismatic and, you know what I mean, magnetic, you got something about you that's very attractive. Those are people that is also going to indicate the depth, the length, the darkness, the intensity of your shadow. Which is why that's an indicator of how high you scale the mountain. Because you have worked so hard at presenting yourself in such a way, it is that much more difficult to accept these other aspects of who you are. You don't want to embrace your shadow. You don't know how to imagine yourself as having these shadowy attributes. But if you're unwilling to face your shadow, you're not going to climb very high. You're not going to climb very high. So that's one indicator of how high you go. The second indicator of your ability to now, even in the best case scenario, you climb the mountain, your ability to transcend even your greatest imagination is going to be determined by your willingness to then be told and coached and directed by someone else. Not just to be able to be told who you are, this is your light and this is your shadow, but no. These are the other things that you must now adopt and do and pick up, habits and ways of being and perspectives and mindsets that you need to adopt in order to go beyond who you perceive yourself to be. You absolutely positively need someone outside of you who is going to be able to get all into your head and direct traffic inside of your own thinking to push you beyond the limits of what you perceive to be possible. Someone who can really see you and say you're bigger than you think, and then give you the techniques and the skills and the habits to be more than what you ever thought possible. Right? Most of the time, people will think they can't take that. People can't take that, especially if they're talented. Again, it's difficult if you're a bit more talented. But I always like to tell folks, the more talented you are, the more urgently you need a coach. Think of Olympians. You know that Olympians have natural talent. Usain Bolt is naturally talented. He's one in a million by nature. But the only reason why he is Usain Bolt that you know today is because he had coaches. He couldn't have gotten himself to that level of performance without somebody being all in his face, getting all in his head, and forcing him to go beyond his perceived limitations. So this is a lesson that I'm sending out to the leaders. For all the people who are really, really, really determined to accept the reality of who you are, the light and the shadow, all the people who are really, really clear about the need to be advised and coached to go beyond their perceived limitations. And you want to use all of these attributes and resources to help improve the world through positive influence. If you're one of those people, I want you to find out how Oloye, Obafemi Origunwa, and the Orisha Lifestyle Academy can help you take your practice and your life to the highest level possible. Visit me at obafemio.com or orishalifestyle.com. Let's start working together to help you live the medicine that will heal your life and heal the lives of those who you are destined to serve. I look forward to working with you. Bye for now. Odabo.